Well, here we are again. It's Halloween night, October 31st. At midnight, Nanowrimo begins. And before you start, I have a couple of things I'd like to pass along to you to give you just a little bit of information in case you're a brand new writer and have never done this before. So stick around and we'll get started right now. Oh, hey, I'm glad you showed up. The movie's about to start. It's supposed to be a really good one. All right, hopefully by now you have figured out what your story is about. You have an idea of how the story is going to go from the beginning to the end. You have your characters, you feel like you know them. You're going to use them to get you from point A to point B. But hopefully you also have what's called an inciting incident. Now, an inciting incident is what happens that changes everything and causes the story to go into motion. That's the catalyst that the protagonist has to face. It could be a problem of some kind that has to be resolved. It could be someone is missing, they have to find them. It could be whatever is involved in your story. The important thing is that this inciting incident needs to occur relatively close to the beginning of the story. Otherwise, you're going to have readers lose interest, close the book, and find something else to read. As an example, Anthony Horowitz, who writes the Alex Rider spy novels for middle grades, he has the line at the beginning of one of his books, I can't recall which one it is, but it goes like this: when the doorbell rings at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's never good news. Now that is a great opening line to get the reader's attention. A lot of new writers, especially those who have never written a book before, do what is called a data dump, which basically is giving the reader all kinds of background information. It's called backstory when it's done correctly. But the reader doesn't care that your protagonist was born on January the 4th, unless that plays a part in the story. If it doesn't, you don't need to put it in. You don't need to tell the reader that. It doesn't matter. When I wrote The Treasure of Morro Bay, when I got finished and went back to edit it, I basically took the first 3 chapters of that book, copied them, cut them out, and pasted them back at the end of the manuscript. Because it wasn't until chapter 4 that something happened that set the story in motion. And I knew that keeping those 3 chapters there, I was going to lose a lot of readers. So I started the story out with the inciting incident very close to the beginning. And then anything that was necessary for the reader to know in those first 3 chapters that I had cut out, I sprinkled in a little at a time as we went on. That way the reader found out that information, but it wasn't overwhelming and boring all at one time. So when I know that you want to come up to 50,000 words within 30 days, and that's fine. If you want to put all that stuff in, type it, get your word count up, and then go back and cut it, paste it at the end of the manuscript, and start sprinkling it in a little at a time. That's the way I do it, and it works pretty well. The next item I want to talk about is the hero's journey. Now, if you're not sure how to progress in your storyline, Google the hero's journey, because it's a classic chronology of how novels of this type can work. It starts out with it's usually an orphan that's all by themselves in the world, and they have to figure out this problem that's been thrust upon them. But it goes through various phases and various stages that the hero goes through. So I would suggest you read that, do a little study on the hero's journey, and get familiar with how it all plays out. Next, I mentioned the inciting incident. Okay, the setting. It's important that you give the reader an idea of where this story is taking place. In Lost in the Bayou, obviously it takes place in the bayou, and I put a preface in there that sets the mood and the tone for the story. Kind of creepy, kind of scary. If you're building a world on another planet or something, you need to let the reader know that and tell them what the rules are in that world. Point of view and tense are very important, and they need to be consistent throughout your book. The most common is third person past tense. John started out the day by going down to the beach. While he was there, he found a shell, and there was something else. That's third person past tense. When I wrote Lost in the Bayou, I've written several books, and they've usually been in third person past tense or first person past tense. When I wrote Lost in the Bayou, I wrote it in first person present tense, which made everything seemed more immediate, like it was happening right then. If you're not familiar with tenses, do a little study on that. Just Google it, and you'll find out whichever one you think is the best for your book. I like first person present tense because, as I said, it makes it more immediate. It feels more alive to me, and it's easier for me to write it that way. That's everything except for one last thing. When I wrote Cannibal Island, which I changed the name to The Golden Disc, it's a time travel novel. I had several characters in there, and what I did to make it come alive in my head was I assigned a Hollywood actor to play the role of each of my characters. Richie Armstrong, Brad Pitt ended up with that. A young Brad Pitt played that part. I can't remember who played Ren Remington, his girlfriend, but I can't remember who it was. But anyway, Sean Connery was Angus Callahan, and it made it helpful for me, so you might want to do that. If you have a writing area, pick out the actors that are going to play your characters' parts in the movie in your head, and make a print out a copy of a photograph of them and stick it up on your wall, and that way you can get inspiration perhaps by looking at it. And I think that's it, except that it is just about time to begin. So before we do that, I want to introduce my helper here, and she will be reading my progress, the work that I've written every day in a video for the next 30 days. So let me introduce her. This is my helper.
Hello everyone. My name is Kate. I will be reading Michael's novel every day during the month of November, as long as he keeps writing it. Hardy har har. I look forward to seeing all of you again tomorrow.
And that's Kate. So she'll be back every day in a video to read what I've written. Now keep in mind, what she's going to read to you is an unedited form. So don't judge the final book by what you hear. And your book is going to be primarily unedited too, unless you're a stickler for going back and fixing things as you write. Your objective is to come up with 50,000 words by the end of November. And I know you can do it. So I think that's it for now. Please leave a comment down below. Please feel free to like this video, click the little thumbs up, share it on Facebook if you'd like, on Twitter, on Google+, on Pinterest, or wherever you'd like to share it. Doesn't matter to me. Share it anywhere. Share it everywhere. And I think that's it. I wish you luck. As I said, leave a comment down below if you're going to join us. Any questions? Go to nanowrimo.org. That's nanowrimo.org. And you can get signed up. And you can upload your word count on there every day so you can keep track of what you've written. And it's a lot of fun. I think you'll like it. You'll learn a lot. If you want to be an author someday, this is a good way to start. I think that's it for now. So until I speak with you again, and even after that, you stay focused.